Do you enjoy stirring and realistic fiction? Check out author and veteran Paul Holbert's work at literaryvet.net for intriguing books that will keep you turning pages. Paul uses his experiences to create novels that are true to life, such as his latest, Term Limit, a political crime thriller fitting for today's time and events. Go to literaryvet.net, a read you won't want to miss.
Okay, we're back, and you've been listening to WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. This is Rosalind Sadaka with Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living, and we are talking to Chana Pfeifer, who's a licensed social worker and therapist, and she is giving us a lot of insight into the human condition during divorce and during the experiences of the aftermath of divorce. And a question that I often get is how people can deal best with the stigma, the shame, the insecurities, doubts, and fears of feeling like a failure and other related emotions of being divorced. What can you tell us about that?
So, unfortunately, feeling like a failure and shame, they're real. It is a public kind of demonstration where people, and there's a box that you have to check when you fill out basic applications. And so really being aware of our feelings around that and our role in our marriage not working out, and rather than pretending that those feelings aren't there, to deal with them. And what were we responsible for in our relationship? And how do we be proactive to manage those feelings differently? And also really choosing to almost have like an invisible armor that if people give you a look, what? Or oh my gosh, I thought that wouldn't happen to you. Certain judgments, be aware of that relationship space and that feeling of being judged. And do we take that on or do we not? And that we can consciously, again, be aware of our reactivity of us feeling like a failure, of us taking on the body language or choosing not to and saying, you know what, it didn't work out. And this is a new chapter and this is what I'm grateful for. Or not having to give an explanation, but really choosing, do I participate in that energy or am I really comfortable with where I am? And it wasn't what I wanted to happen, but at the same time, you know what, here I am. And so I'm going to try to choose to move forward rather than getting stuck in that negativity, which doesn't really serve us. But it is there, and pretending that it's not, it's hard.
I think in addition, we should be monitoring what we're telling ourselves, because a lot of what's behind those feelings of shame and blame and stigma are telling ourselves that we're different, we don't belong, we were a failure in our marriage, or whatever that labeling is. And that we can be very abusive to ourselves, can we not?
Oh my gosh, we are our worst critics. And again, rather than pretending that those messages don't go through our head, being aware, oh, there they are. And how am I choosing to show up differently? What are the positive messages that I want to give myself instead? I am lovable. I am successful. I am making healthy choices. That we choose to be our own, worst critic, and maybe we want to show up differently. Great point.
And can I add another statement, something to the effect of, I'm still a good mother or good father despite the divorce. I continue to be a valuable, positive parent despite the divorce, and reminding ourselves that the divorce does not judge my capability of parenting the children that I love.
Yes, 100%. And when they quote the statistics about children of divorced parents, again, that may be accurate to a certain extent, but we are individuals in this. And how do we choose to show up given the knowledge that it is harder to parent when you have two separate households? And what can we do differently rather than, well, why bother because we're divorced and I ruined everything? Really thinking about how can we help show up as parents, given that we do have two separate households, and looking at the success cases. And I think that's part of what you're trying to do is, what are the success cases? Who does it well? I mean, I had a friend who, when it was not in vogue, really demonstrated co-parenting beautifully, that their divorce divorce was not about, I hate you, you're disgusting. It was really, we are not good for each other. The energy is toxic, and let's parent our child the best that we can without fighting as much as possible, but let's try to be on the same page. That's really what's best for the kids. So, and it's best for us too.
Absolutely. I so agree. And yes, that is the foundation behind the Child-Centered Divorce Network. Before we let you go, I wanted to make sure you could tell people.
Which is beautiful.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure you could tell people how to find you and your services.
I have offices. I'm located in New York. I'm in Cedarhurst and West Hempstead, Long Island. I have a website, thehappierme.com. I'm doing telehealth sessions now, which is something I've never done before, but I assist in workshops. I was going to do a workshop in a local coffee shop. I'm very grateful for what I do.
And we are grateful for what you do as well. And you are listed on the Child-Centered Divorce Directory of experts, because I am so impressed with the quality of the service you are offering. Let me ask you this as our last question. How do you deal with the triggering events that occur when we don't have a normal family and we are coping with being divorced and co-parenting and all the related challenges? There's always triggers from the outside world. And what's your advice on that?
Part of that is planning ahead. For example, if there's a holiday coming up, am I having the kids? Am I not having the kids? And how can I plan to be, what were the triggers last year? And if this is new, then what might be difficult? And how can I surround myself with people who can support me in the way that I need? So it's rather than pretending, oh, everything's going to be fine or I'll get through it, it's also asking for help, inviting yourself to someone's house so that you're not alone, rather than waiting for that person to call you and invite you. I mean, my life is a little bit crazy. I can't tell you how many people I've told, please call me and invite yourself because I just might not think about you. And if you ask me, it would make me so happy. And so again, part of it is looking at your calendar and saying, so what might be triggering? What month are we? We're in April. There are some holidays coming up. What might be difficult times? Who do I have in my support network, or who can I enlist in my support network that maybe I haven't? I just earlier today, a colleague of mine was saying that she can't find ground turkey where she lives. And so I said, well, I wonder if there's any one person that maybe you wouldn't normally ask, but just keep your eyes out. And if you see it, grab me 2 pounds and that would be great. And so just getting in this mode that it's okay to ask for help, and that sometimes we need help and sometimes we give help, and that when we ask for help, we're actually letting the other person help us. And that, again, that's nourishing for both parties. That's been one of the huge stretches for me in being divorced. I like to help people. I'd rather not, ask for help, but sometimes I can give help and sometimes I need help.
So true. Yes. And we also have triggers sometimes in communication, especially communication with our former spouse when we're talking about issues. Can you talk a bit about that as well?
Well, that's partly being responsible for our own stuff and our own reactivity and making sure we're not hangry, hungry and angry. We're not exhausted. One of the many tips that I've loved from Harville Hendricks is making an appointment that, hey, I wanted to talk to you about switching weekends. Is now a good time? And making sure that it's a good time for us, that we're not crazed and annoyed, that we're responsible to talk in a calm tone of voice, and we're responsible for not being insulting. One expression I love is when a finger is pointed at someone else, there's 1 finger pointing forward and 3 fingers pointing at ourselves. Again, being aware of what are we putting into that relationship space. And we may not want to have it, but again, we chose to have children together, so we have that, and we need to be aware of our own triggers.
So there's a great deal from what you're talking about in personal responsibility. Personal responsibility will affect the caliber of our communication with difficult people in our lives, and sometimes is our former spouse, with difficult children and with difficult issues that are going on. Too often we find people will point the finger and blame and not look at the fact there are different ways they can address the issues, and those differences can make all the difference in the outcome.
Absolutely. If we recorded if we video recorded every session and looked at ourselves, again, what can we do differently rather than looking at the other person? I can't control any person other than myself. How do I control myself? How do I be aware? How do I notice rather than just looking at the other person?
That's fabulous. And I want to thank you, Chana Pfeifer, for all the wisdom you've shared with us. Once more, tell us how people can find you.
So again, my website is www.thehappierme.com. You can Google me, Chana Pfeifer, Pfeifer. I have 2 offices out in Long Island, New York, and it really was a pleasure and an honor to speak with you, Ruslan.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sedaka. The Child-Centered Divorce resources can be found at childcentereddivorce.com, and I'm available for coaching on divorce and co-parenting related issues, dating and relationship issues, and ways of moving on in life so that you're feeling more confident and empowered. Thanks again. I hope you'll be tuning in next time. Again, Rosalind Sedaka with WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. Bye-bye for now.
Are you looking for that special gift that will tell the one you love just how you feel without having to say a word? There's one place you're sure to find what you want. Quest Jewelers in Maryfield, Virginia. Whether your goal is to make a big splash for that special occasion or a simple reminder of how you feel, Quest has what you need to make it happen. Owners Pete and Wan Tain bring over 20 years of experience in customer service to make your purchase unforgettable. See what they can do for you at Quest Jewelers. That's www.questjewelers.com or call them at 877-660-0826.